Good evening, everyone. This is Ekta Sehgal, founder, Motherhood Club, Manus Wealth, and Kiddo Mentoring. Today's session is being held at the Motherhood Club platform on the Facebook group, YouTube channel, and in addition to that, we are also live on LinkedIn today. It is an endeavor to create financial awareness. Before we proceed any further, allow me a few moments to have a few of our friends, members join in across the platforms, and we should begin our session for today. It is 6 p.m., perhaps at 6:02, in another 2 minutes, we will start our session for today. In the meantime, if you feel that you would like to hone up your skills on financial understanding or learn something new, do give a shout out to a few of your friends. And would be lovely if I could read your comments to make it more interactive. Actually, any conversation, if it is an interaction, makes it far more interesting and less monotonous. And by reading your comments, I would know that I am not just talking to a system, but there are humans sitting in front of their system, be it a laptop, an iPad, or a phone, and hearing to what I wish to share. And I would get to know what you think about all of that. As learning is a two-way process, we learn together. Some unlearn, some learn, but together we make a difference to each other. So let's just wait. I guess it's already 6:02, but yeah, I'm just waiting for a few of our friends to join in, and we shall take off from there. So, all right, I guess let's not wait for a very, very long time. And thank you, Ila, Payal, Shweta, for joining in. It's that time of the year which we all know as the financial year beginning. A lot of focus is put on the financial year end because we kind of submit our tax planning investments, or corporates, businesses close their books of accounts, and when that financial year end spills over to the next day, which is 1st April, not the April Fool's Day, but 1st April, where most financial organizations, especially a bank, shuts the operations for customer, as a lot of back end work happens. And when we are in the month of March, not only do we close our books of accounts, but as an entity, as a corporate, we also start preparing for the next financial year. Most organizations follow April to March, a few follow January to December, but in India, by and large, we consider 31st March as the last day of the financial year and 1st April as the first day of the next financial year. So currently, we are in the financial year 2022, culminating into 2023. So it's called FI 202223. Now, what corporates do, what private firms do, is their lookout. What we are going to be talking about, what impacts all of us as individuals. हम सब पैसे कमाते हैं, क्यों कमाते हैं? क्योंकि हम अपनी लाइफ को अच्छा करना चाहते हैं. We work as entrepreneurs, as professionals, as a salaried employee to earn money to be able to meet our goals. तो क्यों ना हम भी अपनी असेसमेंट फाइनेंशियल ईयर बिगनिंग में करें. आज शायद ही कोई ऐसी बात होगी जो मैं आपको बताऊंगी जो आप नहीं जानते. I'm going to keep this conversation in Hindi and English both so that We all understand what it is. साल की शुरुआत में हम क्या करते हैं? नया एकेडमिक सेशन स्टार्ट होता है, पेरेंट्स बहुत खुश हैं, बच्चे स्कूल जा रहे हैं आफ्टर अ गैप ऑफ 2 years. नई यूनिफॉर्म आती है, नई बुक्स आती हैं, नए शूज़ आते हैं, हम अपने लिए भी कई चीज़ें प्लान करते हैं। लेकिन जब बात आती है हमारे इन्वेस्टमेंट्स की, हम काफ़ी सारी चीज़ें भूल जाते हैं। तो हमें क्या याद रखना है? व्हाट इज़ इट दैट वी नीड टू रिमेंबर in the beginning of the financial year with regards to our investments? I'm not going to be talking about the broad finance because my domain is about investments. So I'm going to stick to that. As a first step, do your budgeting exercise. Prepare your budget for the year. Identify the goals that need to be met in this year. Either it is being carried off from the previous years, or there is some kind of a short term goal that you have or want to identify for yourself. It could be a holiday plan now that things are opening up. It could be buying a piece of jewelry, or it could be also starting a fresh investment. So, when you do your budgeting, when you set your goals, you are not only doing that for the current financial year, you are also reviewing all that you have done so far by looking at its performance. So, in a nutshell, very simply, you are reviewing your existing portfolio and setting up new goals basis the detailed, in-depth budgeting exercise that you do. Very briefly, what is a budgeting exercise? How much you earn, how much you spend, what's left is what you will use for your goal achievement. How you do the budgeting is a different conversation altogether. लेकिन मोटा मोटा कहाँ से पैसा आ रहा है, कितना खर्च होगा, उसके बीच का जो गैप है उसको कैसे यूटिलाइज करना है, उसे हम बजटिंग कहते हैं। और हम ये साल के शुरू में क्यों करें? सैलरी हाइक्स भी तो साल के शुरू में ही होती हैं। आपके बिजनेस प्रोजेक्शंस, आपकी सैलरी हाइक जो आपके एम्प्लॉयर आपको देते हैं, जितने भी लोग सैलरीड हैं, वो सभी तो आपको साल की शुरुआत तक पता चल जाता है। सो यू नो what is that incremental that you will have. Once you have reviewed the existing portfolio, done your budgeting exercise, set your goals, a very important thing should be done, but most often than not, nobody does it. And that is your tax planning. You already know the rise in your income, barring the capital gains or the additional income that you may get in the course of the year. But broadly, आपको पता है कि आप अंडर सेक्शन 80C जो टैक्स इन्वेस्टमेंट, टैक्स रिबेट की जो इन्वेस्टमेंट आप कर सकते हैं, that limit is sacrosanct, which is 1.5 lakhs under section 80C. And you have multiple avenues to do that. You could do a life insurance, you could do a 5-year fixed deposit, you could do a PPF, you could do, for senior citizen, you could do a senior citizen scheme, or you could do an equity linked savings scheme. One particular product in which many people invest is the public provident fund. What we do is we push our tax investment to a later part of the year without realizing, and this is especially for those who do investments in public provident fund. Public provident fund is a fixed income product where your investment is locked in for 15 years the first time you do your investment, and then you keep increasing, you keep renewing your PPF account for a block of 5 years. Either you open it with a post office or with a public sector bank. If you invest in PPF in the beginning of the financial year, you get the interest for the entire year, which is much higher than the interest that you get in a savings account. Barring a few banks, most of the savings account gets you about 4.5% interest rate. PPF is, I think, about 7.4. And another thing, it is tax free. Why would you want to keep your money, which you know you have to invest, in something which is getting you a lower return and you end up paying a higher tax on that? That is one. Second, whenever you wish to make an investment in a public provident fund scheme, make sure that your investment amount reaches your PPF account maximum by the 5th of the month, whichever month you may do it. Ideally, do it in April. Why? Whatever funds is received by the 5th of the month, you get the interest for the entire month in the month that you have invested. But if it is after the 5th of the month, then you don't get the interest for that month. Your interest starts accruing from the next month, which means you have lost interest from your savings account and you have lost interest in the PPF account for that month. That's a double whammy. आपका नुकसान है उसमें, बहुत छोटी सी चीज है, लेकिन creates a huge impact over the longer period of time, क्योंकि आप हर साल जो अमाउंट इन्वेस्ट करते हैं उसके ऊपर इंटरेस्ट आता है, फिर उस पूरे के ऊपर इंटरेस्ट आता है, एंड कंपाउंडिंग का जो इफेक्ट होता है, उसका जो एडवांटेज आपको मिलता है, you cannot even imagine that. Hi, Deepika. Thank you for joining in. Thank you, everyone who has joined us. I'm not surprised that there are very few people who are watching because financial awareness sessions, everybody thinks either we know it all or we don't want to know, which is okay. Yes, Ela, this is a very important aspect of public provident fund. So that's about PPF. Start your planning. Review, do your budgeting, do your goal setting, plan your PPF investment, plan your tax saving. Plan it. PPF तो 1 अप्रैल 2 अप्रैल को जाके आप कर दीजिए ताकि 5th तक आपके फंड्स क्रेडिट हो जाएं और आपको इंटरेस्ट मिल जाए. नहीं कर सकते हैं लमसम, हर महीने की 5 तारीख से पहले कीजिए ताकि उसका फायदा हो आपको. अगर आप equity linked saving scheme करते हैं, which basically invests into the equity market, it's a mutual fund and hence it's called equity linked saving scheme. The lock-in is 3 years. आप उसमें इन्वेस्ट करते हैं तो आप अमाउंट फिगर आउट कीजिए कि कितना इन्वेस्ट करना है, या तो SIP कर लीजिए, या फिर if you are well equipped, keep looking when the market gives you the opportunity. But make sure that you do your tax planning in the beginning of the financial year. Once you have identified that goal, in addition to already existing goals that you have, please start executing the plan. Review your portfolio with your service provider. You may be doing it on an ongoing basis, but you could do that in the month of April, where you're doing it on an ongoing basis. Perhaps you may not find the need to do so, but if I go back to the last session that we did where we spoke about financial infidelity, perhaps use the month of April to sit down with your family members to review the portfolio at a family level. Speak to every stakeholder in the family. Is there a change in your goal? Do we need to align those goals so that the variance is minimal? Um, Plan your systematic investment plan in the beginning of the financial year. So use April as a month for planning, planning, and planning, for reviewing, reviewing, and reviewing, for operational work, like for all of you who fall under the category where your interest income is exempted and you submit Form 15G or 15H to the respective organization that you have invested in, depending whether you're a senior citizen and you qualify for that, please submit them in the beginning so that there is no problem, lest you may forget. So, investments, like I always say, is no rocket science. Basic, small, small things that you need to pay attention, and your life is so smooth. It isn't so complicated, and yet you're able to achieve all that you wish to. And why I'm saying that, do this in the beginning of the financial year? Because in the beginning of the financial year, workload is relatively less. You know, it's not so much. There's not so much of pressure. And already in the March month, whoever is in a salaried job, and I'm sure Monica will agree with me, the HR is already after you. Ki, give me your tax investment receipts. So there already is a reminder that you need to do this. Yet everybody runs helter skelter in the last week of March to figure out their tax investment. And then what happens is that you end up making investments, especially when you do an equity linked savings scheme, irrespective of the market levels, you end up making your investment. By the time you do your PPF investment, you know already what you have lost. And let me tell you, any investment, any investment you procrastinate, the penalty that you pay for it is huge, is very, very huge. Yes, Monica, timeline is round the corner to declare. Absolutely right. In fact, organizations start asking you, you start declaring so that from the very first month, they don't deduct that extra tax. But if it does get deducted, you know that nobody else is at fault, it is you. Payal is saying this is the first time in 30 years that we have actually gone and deposited our PPF in April. Usually we get late, and of course, we have lost the interest for the whole year. Thank you so much, Payal, for bringing this up. Me and my husband, we make sure that on 31st of March, we both raise an alarm that PPF time is come. First, we raise an alarm with each other in the month of March that do we have our funds accumulated for our PPF investment? And then on 31st March, we both remind each other that 1st April is a non financial day, non banking day. So, 2nd April, make sure you do the transaction. If it's a Sunday or a Saturday, we know what needs to be done. And in today's time, one can do it digitally at the click of a button. Monica is saying we learned it a little early. Thank you, Neha. Thank you, Aparna. Thank you so much for joining in. Thank you, Kavita. So, like I always say, and I'm going to repeat this at the cost of repeating, it's no rocket science. If I can do it, all of us can do it. After all, I'm also a woman like most of you here. Why I say most of you? Because there will be a few men colleague of ours who will be watching this. April as a month could be a turnaround month for all we women who have been a victim of financial infidelity. By reading up, by making a fresh beginning to take charge of our investments. Today, there are two such women who I know of who are very actively doing this, or rather, I would say three who are doing this very, very actively. Uh, Thank you, Ajas, for joining in. No, I'm absolutely fine. A little bit of a dust allergy, perhaps. My throat is getting dried up, so allow me to have a sip of water. Thank you. So, okay, let me read out. Kavita is saying, I completely agree that women should be financially independent even if they are house mothers. Absolutely. Who says that you got to be a professional, you got to be an entrepreneur or a working woman to take charge of money matters? Look back into your life, or for those of you who are lucky who still have their grandmothers around, ask them, did they not manage the money? Did they not do the budgeting? Were they not aware of the expenses of the house? They may not be aware about the investments, but they definitely were aware about budgeting and expense management. They definitely knew about emergency fund. So of course, we women have a very positive correlation when it comes to money matters. It is just that we need to realize that relationship. That relationship is so positive. And women look at it as security, men look at it as success. Let's blend the two and voila. Eli is saying one problem is that people often get influenced by their peers while investing, even when their financial levels are not similar. This leads to a mess. Yes, Ela, absolutely. Again, altogether a different topic. We'll address this. Here we are actually talking about behavioral finance. We are talking about the mental biases that we have, and that needs to be addressed differently because what we think we are is not what we actually are, and what we actually are, we don't think like that. And this is so applicable to investment specifically because I want to copy someone because they are making money without realizing what have they done. And when that happens, that disconnect happens, that is where there is a huge gap between the investment return and the investor's return. We'll talk about this some other time. Reading what Kavita is saying, Kavita Badia, my life is an example. Life may bring twist. Financial independence brings in confidence and also strength society because women are pillars of the society. Thank you, Kavita, for mentioning this. Just a little bit of a correction, with your permission. We've all become financially independent, a lot of us. That financial confidence will only come when we accept that we want to take control, when we want to manage our own money. I know of professionals across fields where women still depend on their male counterparts. Yes, Sila, sure, for sure. I'll do that. I'll keep a note of it. In fact, I've made a separate diary so that I know what all needs to be spoken about, what all inputs I get from all of you. I do my own research. Anybody willing to share their experiences with me on a one-on-one phone call, your mistakes, it'll help all of us learn. I don't like to do this as a monologue. I am more than happy to have any one of you, and it's an open invitation. I'm happy to have any one of you come talk to me live on the conversation, barring personal questions, where should I invest, and all those things, because as per compliance, I am not allowed to do that. Plus, investment is absolutely customized. Be my guest. Very soon, I am going to be talking to a few friends who actually, from being just financially independent, have become financially confident. And believe me, when I spoke to them, and the emotions that they shared when they became financially confident was as if I have achieved something. It was a moment of pride for me. I have no role in playing. I have no role in them being financially confident because they have been doing this. But when I hear their journey, it gives me confidence. All of us can do that. So, coming back to financial year beginning, use this time to read up. Use this time to understand so that you, for a change, call for a review session with your spouse. And this is more relevant for women. There are a few households where women take control. So call for a review meeting with all the stakeholders, review it, tell them, have we done our tax planning? Have we planned our goals for the year? Has something changed? Do we need to do something else? And you see the difference. But as I always say, don't accuse someone of not telling you. Question in such a manner that the person is compelled to tell you because they feel that you have the confidence to deal with that. That's all that I want to share with all of you today. Very, very basic, very simple, just a reminder. So, just to recapitulate, review your existing portfolio with your service provider, with your family, set your budget for the financial year, do your goal setting, review your goal setting, make sure that your PPF investment is done well in time, do your tax planning, read up, and enjoy life. Be financially confident. Do you have a magic formula for how much of income one should spend and how much one should save? Asking this specifically for a young person who's just starting out, right? There is a rule of budget which is called the 50-30-20 rule. Very briefly, if I touch upon this, I'll be taking up budgeting in the next conversation. 50% net of tax income should be for your needs, 30% for your wants, and 20% should be saved. If you set this formula, you will be able to get it right. Because the moment you save that 20%, you will be able to test waters. Once you test waters, you will be inclined to save more. When you divide it between the needs, wants, and saving, you will be able to see that that want, perhaps where you go overboard, you'll be able to take corrective measures. So budgeting is an altogether, a detailed conversation, a detailed topic. We'll talk about it in perhaps a next session. Thank you, Payal. Mukesh Ji Singh, I would like you to share tax brackets and slabs for different category of SSEs. I would have loved to do that, Mukesh Ji. I am not a tax expert. I am not a chartered accountant, but I will perhaps share it as a post so that it stays on the system for all of you to refer. I hope that helps. Thank you, Monica. Great formula. So I have another thing, Payal. There was a research, and I had shared this in my last conversation. Remember, I was looking at my diary for the stats. 78% of women save less than 20%, and 56% save less than 10%, and 14% do not save. Absolutely against the budget rule. So, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of homework to be done. Rules are the same for you and me, for men and women. All I would say this April, make a modest beginning to not only hone up your skills, but also involve your kids in money matters. Yesterday, in conversation with Payal Talreja, we did talk about this. Let's focus on these life skills. Perhaps when our kids grow up, they may not need an ekta to do these sessions. Or even if they do need an ekta to do these sessions, they would be a lot more wanting to attend. There'll be a lot more engaging in a conversation, and there'll be a lot more women investors across the world who will be financially confident because we women are this 50% significant other, and we contribute to the economy. Everybody wants women investors. I would love to have women clients, and not because I'm a woman or I'm a feminist, because the stability that they bring in to their portfolio, to the economy, to the stock market, the long term approach that they have, the nurturing ability that they have, nothing to beat that. They actually help bridge the gap between the investment return and the investor's return. Yes, Payal, that's indeed shocking, but it's also true that a large number of women do not even control their finances. Well, financial literacy level in India is just 26%. Keep guessing how many men and how many women. And I'm sure when a research would have been done, they did not go to the grassroots level. They would have spoken to people who are educated, who are earning. In fact, I remember reading a research report a few years back where a lot of them said that they don't need a service provider because they just don't want to do it. Or they still want to look at the conventional products. How the conventional products actually eat into your return. We'll talk about all of this and any topic that you would want to discuss. Just a phone call away, just a message away, just a comment away on Facebook. Reach out to me and I'll be happy to discuss it. I hope so, Payal, and that would be like a dream come true. Payal says, I hope our kids will be the Ekta of tomorrow. I really hope so that India becomes a financially literate country. We are a lot more savvy. I hope this dream that I see with my open eyes gets fulfilled. So, thank you, everyone. And Mr. Bhatnagar, I will surely share the tax slabs. In fact, if we have a chartered accountant in our group who would like to talk about the tax planning, about the taxation aspect, please reach out to the team. We'd love to host you. Anybody else who would like to take a session on financial awareness, not necessary that you talk about the technicalities. You may just want to share your experience as to how you started to do your financial planning. We'd love to host you. Yes, Monica, I will try for a chartered accountant. I've been trying to get my hands on more people from the financial background. We've made a modest beginning in the Antarman release of this month, where we have an article by Neha Bhagat in Hindi explaining about a gulak, where she's talking about the different aspects of the stock market. I would urge each one of you to read it to get a little bit of understanding. And Neha would also be contributing alongside me in Antarman about different aspects of the stock market for each of us to know more about it. I would also request Mr. Bhatnagar, because he's been a banker, to share some insights so that all of us together, Payal, Ela, I think even Monica, you know, you all have managed your investments. You have an idea. Share your experience, encourage and motivate other women. Perhaps that would be a good gift from your side to me. Okay, about Aparna is saying this, I so agree. Conventional methods of investment are sometimes eating away in the return. Most bank employees sell long term investment with incorrect details and we believe them, and it creates complete mess. The Pandara box is opening. We are touching upon different topics to talk about how to identify the right service provider, how to identify the right product for yourself. Let's talk about all these things. I'm sure a lot of you have a lot of knowledge and a lot of information. Share it with us. I would be happy to be on the other side and listening to your inputs, your experiences, your challenges that you face and how you overcome. Women shy away from documentation. Let April be the month where you say, I will do all my documentation on my own. All right. So, with this, at this positive note, let's close this conversation for today. And this conversation was done at the Motherhood Club platform in conjunction with Manas Wealth. whose founder I am, and I am also the founder at Motherhood Club. Thank you, everyone, for being here, for appreciating our conversation today. This is a part of our wealth series conversation at Motherhood Club. We spoke about wealth today. Tomorrow is World Health Day. Health leads to wealth, leads to happiness. Happiness leads to health, leads to wealth. They're all in sync with each other. Tomorrow evening, 6 p.m., catch Monica Goel Divan moderating a session where we have Rachna talking about a holistic approach of well being on the occasion of World Health Day. See you all tomorrow at 6 p.m. at Motherhood Club. Stay safe, take care, don't forget to wear your mask. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me at 9958 444 or 997147700, or you could leave your comments in the comment section. So take care. Thank you. Bye bye. This is Ekta Sehgal, founder, Manas Wealth, Motherhood Club, and Kiddo Mentoring, signing off for today. Till we meet again. Bye bye.